Good evening, all. Welcome to this segment of the multiple segments that you will be listening to me. Courtesy Sky Yoga, Katrina, and Robin for inviting me to share my interpretation of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. I welcome all the yogis, aspiring yogis, budding yogis, and people who have not become yogi as yet, or you haven't thought about it. That's okay. It's always good to have an open mind and listen to what somebody else has to give. Now, coming back to Patanjali and Yoga Sutras. So, it's a well-known fact that Patanjali said something that has been translated into 50 different English translations, translated in over 150 different languages, and it has been one of the most read books of all time. Now, what's so great about Yoga Sutras? I call Yoga Sutra as a cookbook of delicious daily meal. Now, daily meal is not your bread and butter, and is not a egg. It is not meat. It is not anything else. It's the way I live, the way you live, the way we live. And Yoga Sutra gives you a very short, precise what, why, how, and when of it. So that's the gist of it, right? Patanjali Yoga Sutras give us a way of what, why, how, and when. And it lays down sequentially. This is my hypothesis. This is what I'm going to do. This is what my goal is, my objective is. And these are the steps that I need to follow, one step before the second step. It is extremely important to understand that Patanjali was not the inventor of yoga. He was just a scribe. What he did was he created a compendium, a big dictionary compendium. You want to call it a thesaurus of yoga concepts, and encapsulated them, put them in one place, so that it becomes a ready reference. Right? So, basically, we can take it as back as about 100, 200 years, right after Buddha. Because you know what? Buddha went through the yogis and yoga sutras and so on. He did a whole lot of practice. But primarily, that was Raj Yoga. Raj Yoga, i.e. meditation. And then you come into Patanjali, and Patanjali started from Raj, but he went to Siddha Yoga. Siddhi is perfection, and Nirbij, that is seedless. Seedless is that when you go into a samadhi, when you lose yourself, when you become one with the cosmic oneness, that's the crown Often Kundalini Yoga describes it as Sahasrara, 100-petal lotus. And that's where he went. So as a system, what he propounded, he explained, was non-theistic. He never suggested worshipping idols, deities, gurus, sacred books. Please do remember this. I am repeating, he did not give a slight suggestion that you should worship idols, deities, gurus, and sacred books, right? But at the same time, it is not atheistic either. He says Ishwar. Ishwar Paranidhan. You probably have heard this sutras, or you have actually read this. Ishwar Paranidhan. Ishwar is not the modern day explanation of God. It is not the modern day explanation of Bhagavan, the Hanuman and Devi and all these things that you hear. You know why? Because there is no mention of the word Ishwar in Rigveda. Rigveda, the oldest written document on the planet, right? 6,500 years ago. Now, we are looking at that. There is no concept of institutionalized God, institutionalized religion. That's an option, okay? I threw the word religion in between. But that's how it is. But Ish, the word Ish is the root that appears in Rigveda in the context of stable, able, capable, and war means war. The second part, the Ishwar, the second part is war. The war means a person who has those qualities, i.e. the person who has stability, who has capability of doing something that others do not possess is Ishwar. Right? So, okay, we talked about this. So why I'm talking about Patanjali's Yoga Sutra right now? Let's get back to that. So there are over 50, 60, I have no idea. A whole bunch of translations, commentaries on Yoga Sutra, right? But what is extremely baffling to me, that none of about 90% of the Yoga Sutra available right now, in English especially, nobody has ever paid attention to what Patanjali wrote. Patanjali did not write. I should say a word that you might abhor, but most of people have written correct about Patanjali Yoga Sutra. They have simplified, oversimplified it, and then just sent it down the tube what Patanjali Yoga Sutra is. And I'm ready to get challenged by any of you or any of the literary folks, but I, being a Sanskrit scholar, spent a lot of time with Indian philosophy. I have spent about 3 or 4 decades practicing and explaining, learning, and teaching yoga. So I think that it is time that somebody has put the record straight. It is completely baffling that most of the Yoga Sutra that has been written in English has been commentaries and interpretations of the interpretations somebody else has made. Isn't that amazing? That Lisa says something and Denise hears it, and Denise elucidates it, amplifies it, and then tells it as it is to Denise, the other Denise. I'm sorry. And the other Denise listens to it and puts her own 2 cents and tells to Pam. Then Pam does something else. Now, by the end of the day, we are completely in loss. We have absolutely no idea what the hell the first sutra meant, right? But it's okay. And that's why probably you all are listening to me right now. Now let's start with what yoga is, what yoga is not. Let me go back to the first thing. What yoga is not. Yoga is not religious. Yoga is not, never, ever part of Hinduism that we understand right now. Yoga is not paraphernalia, ceremony, rituals, puja, priests, books, or gurus. Patanjali, not in Yoga Sutra, but in other instances, he has told those things, paraphernalia, ceremony, ritual, puja, priests, books, and gurus as perverted actions. Yoga is based on truth believed by you as you have experienced. Okay? It is important to understand that. It is very important because almost all the yoga sites that I see, even in the Yoga Alliance, even in everything, I have seen that yoga is somewhere tied to Hinduism, or that's really such a stupid and completely idiotic assumption that the current yogis make. And trust me, I'm making bold statements here, but my statements are based upon my 40 years of experience in yoga and understanding what Patanjali wrote, in what language, what context, and that is Sanskrit. Sutras exist for one purpose. Sutra exists for one and only one purpose. And that is the spiritual journey of reconnection that we call yoga. Understanding and the learning. The Yoga Sutra, translating them into a bunch of languages, is absolutely vain and is an intellectual diversion distraction. But the real work here in understanding the authentic self self, mark my word, authentic self, which resides in all, which shines through the fog covering our avidya, that's ignorance, and the eyes of the seeker, who will eventually become a siddha, accomplished. Am I making sense? Okay. You know, these avidya, these artificial contrivances and fabrication, they create a screen, a veil. We cannot put the veil around a problem and think that the problem is not there. You have to face it. On our daily life, we have to face it. And with consistent personal practice, we will either be able to substitute or supplant that veil with something else that can either neutralize or subdue it. That is the sublime text of Yogasutra. Now, why I say this as a cookbook of delicious daily meal? Oh yeah, it is. Because it tells you to look at your every moment, every time, your daily life, and your interaction with the elements in the world around you or beyond in their terms and deal with it. In this context, it is also very it is important that I point this thing out, that of 50 or 100 or 200 translations of Yoga Sutra, it is probably one or two are actually at par. There is a book out from Princeton. Some of you have the printout that I gave you. 50 different translations of the second sutra of Patanjali, second Yoga Sutra, Yogasutra1. 50 different translations. And if you read that, and you will know that about 48 of them have no clue. I will really invite you to read that book from Princeton University. I don't remember the name of the author as yet, but I can send that to you. One more thing that I want to talk about this in this introduction is that Yoga Sutra is very, very big. In its content, it may not be as a book, but it's in content. It's very, very big. What we are seeing as a development of yoga right now is what I call is the small letter yoga. Now, why I say it is a small letter yoga? Because, hey, you come here, you do a bunch of postures, you do a bunch of flows, you stretch out, feel good, go home. Is that result oriented? It is not. It is not towards a good cookbook which gives you a good meal day in and after. It doesn't happen that way. Because we don't even read what has been prescribed. I say prescribed. Yoga is a science. Okay? Yoga is not a faith-based system. Yoga is not a guru-based system. Yoga is not, Patanjali always said, it is not a democracy. It is not about free speech and citizenship and right to bear yoga. Yoga is a science where 2 and 2 makes 4. There is no democratization of 2 plus 2 equals 4. So is yoga. Now, this little Y of yoga actually is part of the bigger yoga. The bigger yoga, capital Y yoga, that is Patanjali's yoga, which includes yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, sadhana, etc., whatever. And why? Because you are not even getting close to the third sutra if you have not done yam, niyam, pranayam, etc. You have not even done that. You're not going to even touch yoga if you have not done that. Now, here is one thing that I am asked often. How it is related to prana, how it is relating to your breath, your consciousness, your actual living, your limbs, and your consciousness, blah, blah, blah. The point is that I can explain to you what it is, how it relates to prana, how it relates to your body. But the point is that you will not be able to grasp it unless you practice. Yogasutra is a guide to and by yogis and is not intended to be expropriated by academia, philosophy, grammar, or religion. It is a practice-based system. And it is a personal practice. Now, let's take, we have run quite a bit of time today, but let me just go through prana and breath and so on. So let's look at what is Om. Om. All the yogis find themselves pretty enchanted, exhilarated when they chant Om. But not knowing what Om is, they look at Om as primordial sound, the sound of the eternal, whatever we want to call it. That's Wikipedia explanation. That's without understanding the prana system. The prana system is not Wikipedia explanation of Om. Let me ask you this question. Can you say something when you are inhaling? Do that. Try it. And I'm positive, I'm 100%, more than 100% positive that you cannot say anything from your mouth when you are inhaling. You say things out when you are exhaling. So why you say Om when you are exhaling? When we read Yogasutra, you have to go back to context, the perspective, the time that it comes from, the culture of the place that it comes from, the culture from where yoga comes in. You don't dispatch or say goodbye to a guest at your door. You walk the guest up to, onto, outside the door and make that guest repeatedly assure that the guest is welcome as soon as possible and I will be waiting. It does not have to give me notice. You accompany a guest from your courtyard, from your drawing room. In British, that's what it's called. In here, we don't have a concept of a courtyard, a drawing room, and an exit door. So we cannot grasp that concept that you come from drawing room, you are going through a courtyard, and you are coming to the exit door. That's why we do not understand the concept of Om. Om is a grateful send-off to a guest who is keeping me alive. That's my breath. And I am accompanying from the drawing room. That's awe. Awe is your glottis, your throat. Ooh is a longer space between glottis to leading to your teeth and lip. Is your courtyard. And ma is your lip. That's the exit door. And you are walking your guest, your most revered guest. Your life depends on it. And you will wait there eagerly till that thing comes back, or you will be dead. Om is the greatest sense of gratefulness to our own existence. Nobody explains that. Why nobody explains that? Because folks do not have a clue of the sound system of Sanskrit. Sanskrit is very precise. Okay. Noam Chomsky dedicated his book Aspects to the Indian grammarian Panini. Panini was the guru of Patanjali. Patanjali was a grammarian, basically. You have to understand that. So, we have taken enough time, and until next Friday, 6 p.m. at Sky Yoga. Look us up at skyyoga.com. Oh, sorry, skyyoga.valley.com. And see you there. It's wonderful talking to you, and it's wonderful for some of questions that you all asked, and we will go through the first sutra next time. And before I forget, we will be talking about some core concepts of yoga: life, death, life after death, possibility of incarnation, what incarnation means in yoga, and so on next time. Until then, bye.